So in this video, we're going to look at common gotchas for Elixir newbies. So Elixir was my first functional programming language, unless you count sort of JavaScript. And mostly my experience was like object-oriented languages like Ruby. I did a little bit of Java way back in the day in school. So when I started Elixir, there were new concepts that I ran into as I was writing code that produced unexpected results. So we're going to look at some of those gotchas, and I'm going to recall all of them. So the first gotcha that is what I call pattern matching top-down order. So I'll show you an actual code. So I have this module M. Oops, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. With a module M with methods named M. And actually, as I paste in, you can see there's already a problem. This clause cannot match because a previous clause at line 2 always matches. So if I do m.m nil, I want to say found nil, but instead I'll get hello blank. So it's like Elixir's interpolating that nil into an empty string. So you'll notice that it matches in top-down order. Now, if I had swapped the order of the m and the x, let me paste that in. So the new module M will be much better. So m.m nil, I found the nil. If I say m.2, it'll say hello 2. So that's actually what we expect. So that's the sort of, just be aware that Elixir pattern matches top down. There's also this other little one that, I was just a question I had. I was like, what are those double backslashes? So the double backslashes are default parameters. So I could pass in another one. Instead of 2, I'll do 3, and I'll get back 7. So that's what those double backslashes and functions mean. Oh, the other gotcha is piping to an anonymous function. So this will be interesting. So let me just... I guess I'm going to have to manually type some of this out. So, oops, not enum.may, it's enum.any. So true. And basically what I'm doing is I'm saying is do any of these arguments in the list equal 3. So basically, when you want to pipe an argument that is not the first argument, when you want to pipe to an anonymous function, you use the ampersand operator to define an anonymous function to check equality on the values. If I were to expand that to a non-anonymous function, it would look more like this. Function x equals 3, and so that's sort of what I'm saying, like by that gotcha, piping to an anonymous function. So that's how you set up and you can see that it's much more terse to do it that way. And that's the longhand ways with f and x. So that's that one. And then the other gotcha is piping an argument that is not the first argument to a function embedded as an anonymous argument. So let me just show you what that looks like. So you can see in this case, we had the first argument there, but now what if we have an m.div? Actually, there's no m.div. Oops. m.mdiv. Let me define that module. So now I want to pipe this list, which contains 2s, and I want to pipe it into as the second argument. So this is the syntax for how you do that. So you'll notice I have the ampersand here, and then I enclose the module, the function, And then I say 3 is the first argument, so 3 is x, as you can see. And then y will be whatever is being passed into enum.map, so I use the ~1. So that's how you pipe a argument that is not the first argument to a function embedded as an anonymous function argument. So, gotcha number 5, piping an argument that is not the first argument to a function. So again, I'm using m.mdiv. Oops. So if I want to just pipe directly into, so again, you see there's quite a bit of gymnastics here going on. It's a little bit weird. So you can see I definitely needed this. So what am I doing here? I'm setting up this anonymous, this call. I'm saying pipe it in to the second argument as a second argument. And you can see I do this same trick that I did up above. I put an ampersand, I enclose the function in parentheses, and then I enclose it again, and then I call dot, and then these parentheses, which says invoke this function. So that's how you do that pipe. And you'll notice that when I didn't do the dot parentheses, I got this warning message: cannot pipe to into m, can only pipe into local calls foo, remote calls foo.bar, or anonymous calls foo dot. So that's how you pipe an argument that is not the first argument to a function. Let's see. Oh, nested case smells is the other gotcha. So I wrote up a blog article about this before, but I think it's worth reiterating here. So you can see I have this, like, maybe I can make it bigger. Oh, can't zoom in really. This def module airplane. Tell you what I'll do, I'll just copy it. Put it in a bigger window. So you can see case and then a case within that. So that's just kind of smelly. And it's good to just untangle that with a with statement, which I'll just show you briefly here in this blog post what that looks like. So you'll use something like this with a with clause, which basically says these conditions must be met. These functions must return OK, comma, tire. They must pattern match on this tuple here, otherwise you get an error tuple back. So that's one sort of smell. There's another gotcha as well. I call it using cond instead of pattern matching our case. So when I was making my nested filter Elixir hex package, I did something like this where cond do. I said if this condition is map is true, then do this. Otherwise true, then do this. So it's just kind of smelly, and really you should try to avoid using cond as a general rule. It's not that you don't all need it ever, but and prefer to use pattern matching or case. The other gotcha. So there's no such, when you use guard clauses, there's no such thing as custom functions. So as an example, if I do this, so like isList, like I have a function print list on module m, that's a built-in function. So you can use that as a guard clause, but you just can't make up your own functions. Another gotcha, you don't assign, you bind. So it's kind of pedantic. This is a terminology issue. But when you see an expression such as x equals 2, you're actually binding, not assigning. So if you're from an object-oriented language, that might sound a little weird, but basically this Elixir forum poster says the compiler runtime has a set of rules that it uses to attempt to make the pattern match succeed. One of these is binding and rebinding. So binding creates a variable that references a term in memory if that variable does not already exist in the current scope. In Erlang, all further uses of that variable in its current scope are fixed to that term in memory. Elixir cheats a bit and allows you to rebind a variable to a new term in memory in certain situations. However, the actual term in memory from the original binding does not change and will need to be garbage collected at some point. So, and the last thing is the for the for loop in Elixir, or it's not a for loop actually. It's what's known as a comprehension. So if you see something like this, for x, do 2 times x, 12, 14, 16, it returns a list. So comprehensions are basically syntactic sugar for iterating over a list and transferring that data to something else. So just be aware of that. And those are the 10 gotchas for new Elixir programmers. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and may the ones and zeros be with you.